The movie starts with Theresa, a popular girl in college, waking up in Carter's dorm room. She asks him why she's there, and he tells her she was drunk last night and came to his room, so he didn't want to send her out late. Theresa suspects he might have done something with her, but since she's used to casual hookups, she doesn't care much. She asks him for some headache medicine and then realizes it's her birthday today. When she opens the door to leave, Carter's roommate walks in and jokes that Carter spent the night with Theresa. Theresa glares at Carter in disgust and walks away. On her way back to the girls' dorm, Tim, a guy she once went out with, stops her and asks why she stopped replying to his messages. She tells him she's not into relationships and just likes to have fun, then leaves. At the dorm, she meets her friend Danielle, who asks about last night. Theresa says she doesn't remember much, except that she was drunk and woke up in Carter's room. Then she heads to her room, where her roommate Lori gives her a small birthday cupcake. Theresa thanks her but throws it away because of the calories. Later, Theresa goes to her medical class. She's a med student and pays close attention to Dr. Gregory, with whom she clearly has a fling. After class, she joins a women's rights meeting. By coincidence, Carter bumps into a girl carrying a food tray, and the food spills all over Theresa. She curses at him and asks what he's doing there, but he apologizes and says he came to return a bracelet she left in his room. Theresa then visits the hospital to see Gregory, and she runs into Lori there. Lori warns her to stay away from Gregory and focus on her studies. Theresa snaps at her and tells her not to get involved in her personal life. In Gregory's office, things get a little intimate, but suddenly his wife walks in. Gregory quickly explains that Theresa is just a student and he was helping her with schoolwork. His wife believes him. That night, Theresa gets ready for her birthday party. Danielle comes in to ask about her dress, and the power suddenly goes out, then comes back. Danielle heads to the party first and tells Theresa not to be late. On her way, Theresa listens to a voicemail from her dad, who's upset because she skipped meeting him like they planned for her birthday. She ignores it and keeps walking. She passes a group of guys, one of them wearing a mask and staring at her in a creepy way. Inside a tunnel, she hears a music box playing the "Happy Birthday" tune. Thinking it's just a prank from her friends, she laughs it off. But suddenly she hears a noise and a masked figure appears. She asks who he is and what he wants, but he stays silent. She threatens to call the cops. He runs away, only to come back again and stab her to death. Theresa wakes up the next morning in Carter's room again, with a notification reminding her it's her birthday. She's confused, wondering if the day is repeating or if she's just hungover. Carter's roommate walks in and says the same lines as yesterday. Terrified, she rushes out. Tim stops her again and asks about his messages. She asks him what day it is, and he says Monday, her birthday. Theresa hurries back to the dorm, sees Danielle, and hears the same questions as yesterday. Ignoring her, she heads to her room, where Lori gives her the same cupcake again. Theresa freaks out when she sees the cake, leaves it behind, and tries to go on with her day like nothing strange is happening. She heads to a meeting with her girlfriends, and suddenly Carter walks by and drops a food tray. Carter gets nervous and tries to walk away, but Theresa stops him and asks for her bracelet. Carter is surprised. She knew he was coming to give it to her, but Theresa ignores him and goes to Greg's office. She closes the door and tells him she needs to talk about something weird that's been happening all morning. Greg brushes her off, saying he doesn't want to talk right now, and gets closer to her. Theresa remembers his wife is about to show up, so she quickly pulls away before anyone sees them. At night, Theresa goes back to her room and Danielle comes in to ask what she thinks about her dress. Suddenly, the lights go out and then come back on. Theresa asks Danielle if she ever feels like this day has already happened before. Danielle misunderstands the question and says the lights went out 2 weeks ago and it happens all the time. Before leaving, Danielle reminds Theresa not to be late for the party. On her way there, Theresa listens to a voicemail from her dad, still struggling to understand what's going on. Out of nowhere, she decides to take a different route to the party. When she arrives, she hesitates at the door, scared to go inside, but then forces herself to face it and opens the door. Out of nowhere, a masked person jumps in front of her, and she screams, punching them in the face. The lights come on, and she realizes it's just her friends pulling a prank for her birthday. Nick, the guy in the mask, jokes around with Theresa, and she apologizes for hitting him. Nick says he'll forgive her if she comes with him to his room. Theresa goes with him. They play music and dance, but she gets bored and starts texting Danielle. At that moment, the masked figure sneaks up behind Nick and kills him. Theresa doesn't notice because the music is blasting. When she finally turns around, she sees the masked figure and thinks it's Nick messing with her. She laughs and tells him to take the mask off. But when she sees Nick's body on the floor, she realizes it's not him. She screams and tries to escape, but the masked figure grabs her and stabs her to death. Theresa wakes up terrified in Carter's room and realizes the day is repeating. She gets dressed quickly, heads outside, and notices everything is happening the same way as the past 2 days. She goes back to her dorm where Lori notices her looking nervous and asks what's wrong. Teresa tells her that her birthday keeps repeating and she's living the same day over and over. Lori laughs it off and doesn't believe her. Teresa tries to prove it by saying she knows Lori is about to give her a cupcake. Lori looks confused, but then assumes Danielle must have told her about it. Teresa gets frustrated and begs Lori to help her because someone is trying to kill her. Lori grows concerned and suggests she should just rest in her room and skip her classes. Teresa agrees, and later that night she locks all the doors and windows to keep herself safe. She turns on the TV, but suddenly it shuts off by itself. Then she hears a noise coming from the bathroom. She carefully walks over to check but finds nothing. The TV signal comes back, and suddenly the masked killer appears behind her and stabs her. The next day, Teresa wakes up terrified in Carter's room again. Carter tries to calm her down, but she panics, screams, and runs outside. Carter follows her and Teresa hugs him, begging for his help. They sit in a diner, and she tells him her birthday keeps repeating and always ends with a masked killer murdering her. She begs him to believe her, and Carter says he does. He suggests maybe it's someone she knows, since she's popular on campus and has plenty of enemies. He tells her to make a list of people she knows and watch them closely. Teresa agrees, then asks what he did while she was passed out in his room. Carter tells her he didn't do anything. He just found her drunk and let her crash at his place to protect her. Teresa is touched by his honesty, realizing he didn't take advantage of her while she was vulnerable. Teresa makes a list of her friends she suspects might be the killer, and every day she keeps an eye on one of them, only to realize none of them is the masked killer. Days keep passing, the same day repeats again and again, and Teresa ends up dying at the end of each one without finding out who the killer is. She decides to take advantage of the repeating days, so she starts breaking the rules and doing reckless things, knowing no one will remember anything the next day. One day, the masked killer shows up and hits Teresa hard on the head, causing internal bleeding that kills her instantly. When she wakes up the next morning, she feels terrible pain in her head and faints. Carter quickly takes her to the hospital, and when she wakes up, she finds Greg beside her, telling her that her scans show such a serious injury. He actually thought they belonged to a dead person. Teresa gets scared and tries to leave, but Greg insists she needs to rest. When Greg steps out, Teresa sneaks into his office, steals his car keys, and tries to escape. Suddenly, Greg appears to stop her, but the masked killer shows up from behind and kills him. Terrified, Teresa runs to the garage, jumps in the car, and drives away as fast as she can. On the road, she screams in joy, thinking she finally beat the killer, until a cop pulls her over for speeding and puts her in his car. Out of nowhere, the killer shows up in his own car, kills the officer, and sets the police car on fire with Teresa trapped inside, killing her again. The next morning, Teresa wakes up and swallows all of Carter's headache pills. Carter warns her she could get poisoned, but she tells him she'd rather die from poison than keep being murdered. Carter is shocked, and Teresa laughs bitterly, saying she can't even explain what's happening. When he pushes her to explain, she tells him everything about the repeating days. To prove she's not crazy, she points to a water fountain and says it'll turn on right now, then points to a guy and says he's about to faint. Both things happen exactly as she predicted, and Carter finally believes her. Later, they sit in a diner, and Carter notices Teresa's dad has called her many times but she didn't answer. When he asks, she admits her relationship with her dad has been tense since her mom died, and she confesses that living the same day over and over made her realize she's been a selfish, mean person who hurts the people around her. Carter advises her to use these repeating days to change and treat people better. Maybe fate is giving her a second chance. Right then, they hear on TV about a serial killer who's being held in the hospital after getting wounded while killing a cop. Teresa suspects he's the masked killer and rushes to the hospital to face him. But there, the killer breaks free and tries to murder her. She manages to escape, but soon he takes off his mask and corners her, ready to finish her off, until Carter jumps in to fight him. Sadly, the killer stabs Carter to death, then goes after Teresa. She fights back, hits him in the head, and knocks him down. But before killing him, she realizes Carter is dead, and if she kills the killer, the day won't reset. Carter will stay gone. So she makes the painful choice to kill herself instead, ensuring the day resets and Carter comes back to life. The next day, Teresa wakes up in Carter's room. She hugs him and says she's so happy he's alive. Then, following Carter's advice, she starts treating people better. She goes to Tim and tells him he's a good guy who deserves someone better than her. She goes to Greg and tells him their relationship has been wrong from the start, especially because he's married. Finally, she goes to her dad, apologizes for being distant, and tells him she loves him, and promises to become a better person he can be proud of. At night, Teresa goes to the hospital and sneaks into the killer's room. She gets close to him, ready to shoot, but she presses the wrong button. Suddenly, the killer jumps at her with a knife, but at the last moment she manages to shoot him and kill him. After that, Teresa celebrates her birthday. The next day, Teresa wakes up shocked to find the day repeating again, even though she killed the killer. She rushes back to her dorm room to pack her things and run away. Lori notices Teresa's stress, then gives her the cake and wishes her a happy birthday. Teresa connects the dots and realizes Lori is the real killer because she actually died after eating the cake yesterday. The cake was poisoned. Teresa confronts Lori, accusing her of using the killer, putting the mask on him while he was drugged, and unlocking his handcuffs to shift suspicion away from herself. Lori gets nervous and denies it, but Teresa tells her to eat from the cake to prove she's innocent. Lori refuses, and Teresa threatens to take the cake to the police. Suddenly, Lori grabs Teresa by the hair and confesses that she wants to kill her because she stole Greg from her, and because she's jealous that all the guys like Teresa. Teresa says fate helped her uncover Lori's truth. A fight breaks out between them, and just as Lori is about to kill Teresa, Teresa shoves the cake into her mouth and pushes her out the window. Afterward, the news reports about Lori's crime, and Teresa is happy she survived. The next day, Teresa wakes up and realizes the day is no longer repeating. Her life is back to normal. She thanks Carter for believing her, confesses her love, and they become a couple. That's where the movie ends. If you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to like and subscribe so I can reach my first 1,000 subscribers. See you in the next movie recap.